Alright, so we did an article last month on barefoot running, and we got a lot of questions after the article from people wanting to know more about why they should choose one shoe over another type of shoe, what's the healthiest type of shoe to transition your foot from a built-up stability shoe to a more natural or minimalist shoe. And so I thought that what we would do today is outline some of the features of shoes and how to choose one shoe over another, as well as why you should care in the first place about trying to transition from a built-up shoe to something that's a bit more minimalist. So overall, the more built up the shoe is, the more stability features it has, and the more padding it has, the less it requires you to do stabilization on your own, shock absorption on your own, and it essentially dumbs down your body's ability to control what you're doing when you're walking and running. And so in general, going with a less built-up shoe is going to improve your ability to have healthy gait and healthy feet as you're walking and running. We've got several shoes here to go through some of the features, and I'm going to start with a mostly traditional shoe. And this shoe here highlights some of the things that you might want to, maybe you're starting with a shoe like this, but you're interested in choosing a better shoe. What are some of the things that you should look for? There's three main features. One is the heel drop, or the difference between the height in the back of the shoe to the front. You want to choose a shoe that has as little difference between the back of the shoe and front of the shoe as possible. So other examples of this would be this running shoe right here. You can see that in the back of the shoe and the front of the shoe, the drop is minimal. There's not much of a difference between those two. The next feature to look for in a shoe that's going to be healthier for your foot is evaluating the amount of toe spring that the shoe has. Toe spring is the amount of curl in the end of the shoe where your toes are pulled up into a supposedly more athletic position. All that toe spring does is pull your natural fat pad under your metatarsal heads or the ball of your foot away from where it can be beneficial for you. So you typically want to choose a shoe that has as little toe spring as possible. The third thing is evaluating a shoe for stiffness overall. If a shoe is too stiff, it's going to be difficult for your foot and your toes to try and to be able to work the way that they should. And so I'll usually take a shoe and just press it into the table, get a sense of whether it breaks naturally and easily at the ball of your foot. Then also grab the shoe front and back and just give it a twist and see how stiff it seems. The stiffer the shoe is in those two directions, the more difficult it's going to be for your foot to function optimally. So let's look at some of the other shoes that I brought in here and evaluate them based on that criteria. This is a casual shoe from Vivo Barefoot, and if we look first for the heel drop between here to here, it's essentially zero. This shoe is designed with no heel drop at all. Toe spring, there is a little bit, but it's pretty minimal, and if I just put my foot in that shoe, it's going to flatten right out. And in terms of softness, one finger of the shoe breaks easily. In this direction, there's just not much to it. It's more or less a moccasin with a rubber sole, and this is going to be a great shoe for strengthening your foot. This shoe also, along with most shoes that are designed as a minimalist shoe, is relatively wide. A lot of people's feet over time have gotten adapted to or crunched by their shoes, and so their toes are going to end up being folded over one another. Or if you look at the bottom of the toe, it's actually sharpened like a chisel where the skin has been molded by the shoe being so tight. And naturally your foot, there should be a little bit of spread between the toes, and so having a shoe that's adequately wide is going to allow that. The next shoe we'll look at is also by Vivo Barefoot. This is their barefoot running shoe, and there is no difference between the heel and the front. It's very, very soft here, and in this direction, this shoe is pretty much just designed to protect your foot from sharp objects when you're out and about. So if you are interested in some point in transitioning over to a shoe like this, that's the exercise you should go through when you're evaluating the shoe, as well as just, if you want to evaluate the shoe for width, just take out the insole, place your bare foot on top of the insole, and compare the width of your foot to the insole. If you've got a significant overhang between the side of your foot and the insole, chances are that shoe is not going to work for you. So once you've determined that it's adequate width, and you've done your checks for stiffness, heel drop, and toe spring, chances are you've got a good shoe on your hands. when you're going to be transitioning from a support shoe to a shoe with minimal support, you want to view it like strength training and gradually break in your foot over time. And I recommend that you start out with maybe 30 minutes to an hour of wearing the shoe and add time each day, maybe 30 minutes to an hour, until you're up to wearing them all day with only minimal stiffness of your foot. And then after that week or two break-in period, then you might try using them again in small amounts for barefoot running or minimalist shoe running, and break your foot in that way. It's very helpful during this process to also be trying to keep the bottom of your foot stretched out. Use a lacrosse ball or something to roll out your foot, stretch your calf. And if you have any trouble with breaking your body into these types of shoes, just take a break, back off a little bit, and gradually work yourself back in over time. If you find that you have ongoing or continued trouble adapting to this type of shoe, you want to see a qualified healthcare provider to evaluate your foot, evaluate your activity, and see if there's something that you have going on that needs to be fixed before this is a safe action.